Hello, my name is the WandringDutch and welcome to my review of Senua Saga Hellblade 2 on the Xbox Series X. The time played for this game was around 6.5 hours for a standard playthrough with a little bit of exploration and 8 hours for the 100%, with the potential of 2 additional playthroughs with narration unlocks that you find throughout the game. The video scale today is at 21.9 and the ratings type for the review is recommend, do not recommend and wait for sale. I hope you enjoy the review. First up, let's discuss the story. For those who haven't played the Senua franchise before, the first game was set in a dark fantasy world inspired by Norse mythology and Celtic culture. The game follows Senua, a picked warrior, Celtic warrior, who must make her way to Helheim to defeat otherworldly entities and face their challenges, in order to rescue the soul of her dead lover from the goddess Hela. Moving into the second of the game, Senua Saga Hellblade 2 continues the story of Senua, that same picked warrior who embarks on a brutal journey of survival through mythology and torment of Viking Iceland. Senua seeks vengeance against the Viking raiders who perpetuated the Norse slave trade and in essence killed her lover. The journey takes her into the very heart of Iceland, where she faces challenges from both men, monsters and giants. Senua faces her inner and outer darkness once more as she fights to save those affected by the tyranny of those same slave traders and the Droga. Her journey delves into themes of both hope, redemption and potential for both good and evil within every one of the characters. Next, let's talk about the environments. In comparison to Hellblade Senua Sacrifice, where it was mostly in, let's say, a wooded area with a few burnt villages inside of it, a very linear experience and not very much change of scenery throughout the first game, limited by the smaller development size and budget, of course. We saw a vast change for Senua Saga. The environments are much greater than before. We see mountains, caves, valleys, dark forests, villages, beaches, waterfalls, hills, meadows, destroyed villages, villages full of people. We saw small clans, rocky outcrops, and everything has been mega scanned in with photogrammetry thanks to the efforts of the team at Ninja Theory, who went to Iceland and painstakingly photographed every little detail they could in order to bring the realism to life for the game. The environments are very detailed. The lighting is absolutely phenomenal from start to finish, bringing a real grit and beauty to the world. Some of it very haunting, others mesmerizing, and others very eerie and creepy. A lot of the time you'll just stand and look around and pay attention to all the fine details that they have put into the world. The environments are absolutely beautiful. you'll spend your many times in photo mode, just taking photos of the environment and every little detail you can see. Next up, it's the combat and gameplay. So, in Senua Sacrifice, we did have combat, and we had a little bit of gameplay with some puzzles. However, they did become a little bit repetitive, with a lot of match up the ruins, go through the doors, match up the ruins, go through the doors. Thankfully, this has changed in Senua Saga, and there is a little bit more variation to both the combat and to the gameplay. First of all, we did see a refinement to the combat system with some additional extras. The most obvious of them is the combat is fully mocapped by each of the actors and actresses. With the aid of Ninja Theory's state-of-the-art mocap studio and Unreal Engine's MetaHuman to bring each gritty expression to life during each fight sequence. The feeling of the combat is far more brutal, far more visceral, far gorier, much more weighty behind each attack. And you will have special moves such as being able to use your focus attacks to throw axes or spears back at the enemies. You'll be able to use select timing in order to make sure that certain characters don't die in certain fights. Obviously the parry maneuvers are available there as well, and the parrying also provides you the ability to counter-attack and do finishing moves on the characters. Along with that, of course, you have a variation of different characters now with flamethrowers, heavy bosses or heavy sub-bosses. Then you've got axe throwers, spear throwers, shielded warriors, sword fighters, giants, spoiler alert, among many others. Of course, you've got your traditional focus attacks as well, which you can activate as soon as you've done enough attacks to get there. It is far more fluid system, and everything is really immersive. It's just everything falls one into another. If you miss an attack in certain scenarios, you could end up causing the death of another villager. And of course, subsequently, you can save more if you do your attacks on time and don't mess up. Another thing as well is if you get attacked and kind of you're on the floor being pinned down by an enemy, if you use your focus attack, you can counter that, and another villager may come in and either rescue you or do an attack as well. But overall, the combat is much improved. In terms of gameplay, of course you've got your action sequences, chase sequences and obstacle sections. Puzzle types have changed as well with, of course, rune alignment as usual, but that is less than it was previously, which is good to see. You've got an Inception-like sequence that changes the landscape to solve the puzzle. It's kind of making a mirror-like sequence, and you have to kind of keep changing the environment in order to change that. And also flame puzzles as well. Additionally, you also have hidden lore stones like you did in the first, which unlocks another narration mode, and a new Hidden Faces rock illusions as well, which adds more lore to the game. That is a really nice little feature, and I definitely recommend it. But overall, definite improvements to both the combat, which felt a lot better, a lot more brutal and visceral, and a little bit more weighty than the first game. Everything felt very much more immersive. And very intense. It always felt like you were on edge, and everything was kind of life or death, which is exactly the way you need it to be in one of these games, especially this game. It's not a game that's going to be kind of priding itself on the variety of combat types, but it's certainly improved over the first one, and you will feel definite improvements over the first as well. Overall, improvements on both gameplay in terms of the puzzle variety available, the traversal involved, and the combat. So Yes, definite improvements there. Also, a quick shout out to the most in-depth photo mode I've ever come across to date on a game at launch, allowing you to pause even the cinematic sections, hints, they're not actually cinematic, they're in-game, to freely reposition and retune everything to your heart's content for the perfect shot. It is really, really in-depth. You can position the lighting, you can position the characters, you can turn the characters on or off. It is truly remarkable, and you're going to have some real fun with the photo mode.
I will not appease your gods. I will destroy them.
So next up is graphics and performance. So shout out to Ninja Theory for making what is now a benchmark for visual fidelity on consoles and potentially even on PC. It is one of the most hyper detailed games and one of the most impressive looking games I've ever played. It is absolutely phenomenal. Of course, they used tools from Unreal Engines such as Megascans and MetaHuman in order to get the hyper detailed face expressions and face details, and of course environments, thanks to Megascans, but also the team at Ninja Theory with their photogrammetry skills went to Iceland and photographed as much of the environment and everything around it as physically possible in order to get the most detail in the environment and the world that they're in, as well as the clothing and the weaponry and the skin and the hair, and everything was hyper detailed. This is one of the rare examples where the end product ends up looking better than the technical demos that we saw in previous years from this game. The entire game is highly impressive. In terms of performance, this is a locked 30 frames on the Xbox Series X. Personally, I only noticed a little bit of judder the first time I played through the game on this giant section that you see on screen now, and even then it was more of a micro blip. It was like 2 frames dropped at most. But that was for the entirety of the game. That was the only kind of judder I noticed throughout the entirety. Other than that, it was a nice locked 30. No issues, no problems. Very smooth indeed. Next up is the audio. So, again, Ninja Theory returning with another industry-leading example of the most immersive binaural audio to date. I mean, when we thought it couldn't get better with Senua's Sacrifice, with the voices going around her head, they absolutely improved it for this one. Again, Senua still has psychosis, you still have the voices inside her head, but this time around you also have the inclusion of the audio from the environment, which is also binaural, whether that be the creaking of the woods or the droplets of water in caves or ice cracking or the footsteps on the ground, and depending on the different types of ground you're standing on, whether it be grass or puddles or pebbles or rocks, whatever it is all finely detailed in 3D audio in order to represent that. And it is absolutely phenomenal job. Of course, on top of that, all of the voice acting that's went into it, and we'll touch on the voice acting a little bit more as well. But as the audio quality in this game is absolutely phenomenal. Absolute recommendation. In fact, it is required to wear headphones for this game. You will absolutely not get the best experience if you don't wear headphones playing this game. It is absolutely recommended, and if you can, use Dolby Atmos to listen to this, or some form of 3D audio tech, because it will also accentuate that 3D audio once more. Hats off again to Ninja Theory for providing the most immersive audio experience in a video game to date. Next up is the voice acting and performances. So the amazing acting of Melina Juergens and cast, coupled with MetaHuman and the facial scans and mocap studio of Ninja Theory, bring to life the full array of emotions and help top off an extremely immersive experience. The acting from every one of the characters was phenomenal, extremely believable, really well done. But I do believe the technology behind it, as well as the acting, just created another level of immersion that I hope to see in games going forwards, especially of this detail. I think it really brings to life the acting qualities of each character when the full face is being scanned in throughout every note and every line that they're speaking and talking and accentuating. And you can see every little expression on their face. It really does emphasize the situations that they're in and the believability of the lines that they're portraying. So absolutely phenomenal job again to Melina Juergens for her role as Senua in Senua Saga, and the cast as well. Every one of them played a part, none of them fell out of place, and they were all absolutely amazing. Thoroughly enjoyed the acting quality on display here and the performances portrayed. And finally, the final verdict. I would absolutely recommend Senua Saga as a must play. It's an experience that will stick with you for some time and a taste of what current and next gen is capable of. I would say this is a buy. I personally bought this game. I hope you enjoy the experience if you get to play it. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Please like, share and subscribe, and see you next time. Goodbye.